Yusra.
Thank you for having me.
Yusra was a former articling student at my firm, and she has had a very unique experience compared to prior students. First of all, the timing of her articles was different than everyone else because it was COVID times. I also made her and the other student come into the office during COVID when a lot of firms were working remotely. So, we're going to talk about that today. On top of that, she was foreign trained and she is going to explain a little bit about that process to us. So, Yusra, let's start with where you went for law school.
So I went to University of Toronto. And in fact, let me just go back a couple of years down the road. My journey into law has been quite a ride in Canada, given the challenges posed by COVID-19. I arrived in Canada back in 2020, just before the pandemic hit, and like many other newcomers, I found myself navigating through a new country.
Where did you come from?
I came from Pakistan.
Okay.
So I came in February 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And upon arriving in Canada, I had to start from scratch.
Sorry to interrupt you. You know I interrupt people all the time. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I just want to remind our listeners that COVID hit March 2020. I'm sure that's deeply entrenched in everyone's mind, but I just thought I should throw that out there because you said you arrived February 2020. So,
yes.
I mean, how long were you here? When in February did you come? How long did you have before the world shut down?
So I came on February 18th. 2020. I had no idea what to expect when I was coming into a new country, and I just like everybody else, I had to start from scratch. I was desperately looking for job opportunities, and luckily I was able to find a legal assistant position in one of the law firms, but unfortunately that position was taken back because of the COVID-19 shutdown.
Did you start working there?
No, I did not start working there because the offer was put on hold just because of the lockdown. So I was expected to come back there, but then it turned out
the lockdown never ended.
Yes, the
It just
lockdown
kept
never
going.
ended. Yes.
When were you supposed to start working there? In March, I guess, like March, end of March?
Yes, I was supposed to start in March, but then the offer was taken back. So I did not get discouraged from that opportunity. It happened, setback happened. So I started looking for just applying at the universities to start the NCA process here, just so that I can become eligible to take the bar exam in Toronto. So I applied at University of Toronto. I got an admission there. I was simultaneously also looking for articling positions. And yeah, this is how it all began. And I luckily I ended up at your firm.
Let's back up a little bit and talk about your education. Where did you go to school? What did you study before you came to Canada?
So before I came to Canada, I was practicing in Pakistan for about 5 years in a full-service law firm.
So you were practicing as a lawyer?
Yes, I was working in a full-service law firm.
What type of firm? What type of law did they do?
They did aviation law and admiralty law, very different from what I do right now. But so I was working there as an aviation lawyer. And before I started working in Pakistan, so back in 2012, going further down the road, I got my bachelor's degree in law from University of London. And then I practiced in Pakistan for about 2 years, and I wanted to pursue a master's degree at the same time. While I was working in Pakistan back in 2013, 2014, I also had exposure to intellectual property law, and I just developed interest in it, so I decided to apply for master's in that field. I went to US in 2014, and I pursued my master's degree there.
Where?
At University of Houston.
So Texas. And you know I have some roots there.
Right. I have my family there as well. So so I had a great support system there. Then I came back to Pakistan. In 2015, I practiced for another 3 years. And then during this time, I applied for Canada. I ended up here in February 2020, like I mentioned.
And why Canada? What brought you here?
Well, it's a very multicultural country. And my husband, personally, he has his family here. So I had some personal reasons as well to consider Canada specifically.
Where's your family?
They are in Toronto.
Oh, your family is here too.
Yeah, my husband's family is here.
No, but what about you? You have family.
No,
not,
my
it's not
family is
your
in
husband.
Pakistan.
Okay. So who's in Houston?
My brother is in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did he feel about you moving to Canada?
He was very excited because I was closer to him. It's only less than 4 hours flight, so I get to see him very often now than I did when I was back home.
Good place to go in the winter.
Yes.
When we're in the deep freeze.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us about the exams that you had to take, because there are some people that are trained elsewhere to practice law and they come here and it's a whole process. And, you know, some people leave Canada to go to school elsewhere, and there's a stigma about that because a lot of people think, oh, well, you couldn't get into law school in Canada, so you went elsewhere. Or, oh, you didn't want to do an undergraduate degree, you wanted to go straight to law school because in Europe, for example, you don't need a bachelor's degree. Law is a bachelor's degree over there. And then they try to come back, and it's a little difficult for them to get jobs because there is, as I said, that stigma, but also in some cases, it's true. They couldn't get in here. Your situation was very different. You actually practiced law over there. You actually had good grades. You went to University of London, wasn't some random school, and you came here and you went through the process. So tell us about this process. What did you have to do?
So when I came to Canada, I was hoping that I would just take the exams privately just to become eligible for the bar exam. Like there are just a couple of exams that you have to take, like administrative law, criminal law, just the basic courses. But when I came here and I got my assessment done, it turned out that I still had to meet the requirement of doing in-person education in Toronto. So in other words, I had to redo my degree here in Toronto just to start again. So I started looking for options where I can get an admission in Toronto University and at the same time simultaneously be also able to write the NCE exams. So I got admission at the University of Toronto. They have their GPLLM program that simultaneously prepares you for the NC exams such so that you become eligible to write the bar exam. So
it was a long journey.
It was a long journey. So I studied for a year, and because I wasn't working at the time, it was a lockdown period as well. I was also simultaneously working for the University of Toronto as well as a project manager for their Feeding the City project, which was specifically designed for combating food insecurity. I was also studying full-time. I was also preparing for the NC exams, bar exams, looking for articling position, all at the same time in 1 year while sitting at home during my lockdown period and just hoping
well, at least you made the most of the lockdown.
Yeah.
You seem to have been very productive.
Yeah.
Did you find that it was frustrating for you to have to redo everything given that you were already practicing law, or did you feel that it was beneficial for you?
Not at all frustrating. I feel it is extremely important for you to get your solid foundation before you even step into starting a legal career in a completely new country. If I hadn't done that, I can tell you that I would be struggling so much more. So doing my university degree just taught me law is different in every country. So the basic foundation that was set by University of Toronto is helping me to this state. So I think it was extremely beneficial.
Then you came to my firm. I recall that interview, and I wasn't sure what to expect because I had not interviewed people that were in your particular program before. But it just so happened that I had a need for a student. And the traditional articling student route, those students had already found positions, the majority of them. Like, it was very hard to find someone. I'm like, well, this program has students available. Let's check it out. And I recall meeting you, and even before meeting you, I saw your credentials. I was thinking to myself, okay, well, she's highly educated. And of course, I love that you went to Texas. So for those people listening, I did my undergrad in Dallas and spent a lot of time during the pandemic in Dallas and have a very big soft spot for that city. Had a good time there. It was time to come home when I came home, and I have no regret about that, but I have fond memories. So getting back to you, I saw that you were highly qualified on paper, but I needed to meet you. And I recall meeting you, and I recall us having a great conversation. Is my recollection inaccurate?
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember that time, and it was great meeting you. And I remember I was looking for articling positions. I remember getting an interview call from your law firm and just ending up there. It was truly amazing. And I remember you telling me that this is during COVID-19 time, but I believe in in-person training, and how important it is for a lawyer to start their practice in person before they, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I stand by that.
Yeah.
I know that it's convenient for people to work at home. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to commute. You can get your laundry done. You can put your dishes away. It's probably cheaper for food, although you're probably eating more because you're sitting beside it. At least I do. However, I think about the students that are working remotely right now, and the junior lawyers, the new lawyers who are coming out and working remotely. And I feel terribly for them because they are not getting the full experience. It's so much easier to just knock on someone's door and ask them a question, or even just by being in the same vicinity and hearing conversations, being asked to do other tasks because you're in the office, being able to tag along with a lawyer virtually or in person to do certain things. I also really believe, and I've mentioned this to you as recent as before we started recording, that the practice of law, in my opinion, is not just about getting the to-do list done. Get this motion record done, call this person, this client, this court, get a date. There's so much more. And I've keep saying this, that it is about collaboration, innovation, mentorship. There's so much more to the practice of law and to a lot of jobs out there. And us using this remote or hybrid model, yeah, it's easier, yeah, it's cheaper, but I don't think that's necessarily always the best route to go. Yeah, you can get your job done, but there's so much more.
I agree with you, and I'm very grateful for the practical opportunities that were available to me at your firm. I understand like drafting and like drafting motion records, mediation memos, all of this is important, but at the same time I am also very grateful for the opportunities such as like physically doing the job, and that is extremely important. Like, okay, I'm now working as a lawyer and I'm working remotely, but the training that I got in person, I'm still carrying those lessons that I learned at your firm still with me. And the other thing, I know I'm just going a bit off topic, the other thing that I would mention is that like I said, the drafting and all of this is important, but it is extremely important for you to attend as many hearings as you can, like attend discoveries, mediation. I've been practicing as a lawyer for 2 years, and whenever I get time, I do sit in with a senior and observe these legal proceedings. So when you're articling, and that's the opportunity that I got at your firm, and I cannot stress enough how important it was for me to sit with you during discoveries, mediation, and how much I benefited from it. This is in addition to everything else that I was doing physically. That is again very beneficial. I can't underestimate that because I'm still getting the benefits that I learned at your firm.
That.
Yeah.
I have a rule. You know the rule. I'm going to enlighten all our listeners to the rule. The rule is that I do not assign what I can't do myself. And I try to teach all my students that also, meaning that you better not assign someone to scan a document if you don't know how to use the scanner. You do not want to be left in a situation where you're staring at a machine, not knowing what to do because it's the weekend and you really need to get it done and there's no staff on hand. I really believe that it's important to keep up with technology as best as you can to try to figure things out. And I also don't use the hierarchical system, as you know.
Yeah.
I don't view my students as, oh, you're lowly students, because, perhaps one day those students are going to be the judge that I'm appearing before. I also don't view my staff as, oh, they're just staff. In my opinion, everyone has a job role. I believe in the importance of everyone's job role. Everyone knows I'm a lawyer. I don't need to go around saying, hey, I'm a lawyer, look at me,
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. I believe in respect to everyone and treating everyone equally. And I know that That's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone likes that approach. They like the hierarchical approach. Lawyers are up here, staff are down here, students are on the lower end. And I sort of was raised as a lawyer in that environment. And I saw what it did to the morale, and I saw how it was like us against them. And as you know, I believe in a team approach.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong. I'm just mentioning what I believed in.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud to see that, you did everything that I asked you to do at my firm, which included some very mundane tasks like, scanning and filing and drafting notices of examination or affidavits of documents that traditionally, maybe a clerk or an assistant would do. But when we needed it done, you got it done.
And it was a necessary part of the job, right? If I hadn't done these notice of examination, these filing, then as a lawyer, I wouldn't be able to figure out, how to do the filing. Like, I'm attending mediation, discoveries, but I don't know the basics. So you have to do everything as a lawyer. As a lawyer, you should know everything. Like, you should know how to scan, how to file, even though at the end of the day, you're doing more substantive work, like attending court hearings, drafting motion materials, drafting mediation memos. But if you don't know the very basic, I feel that just set my foundation really strong. So I'm very grateful to you for that.
Oh,
and
thank
even
you.
better that even during COVID-19, I know a lot of people were getting their training remotely. I think the in-person training has really, really benefited me. Something that I can carry for the years to come.
Is there anything you did not like at my firm? Whether you did not like doing it or anything you think we should do better?
To be honest, I can't really think about it because I think the only thing that I can think of, but then again, that was a necessary part of the job, was like just walking to the mailing office and just putting the mail down at Canada Post. But you know what? That was also, now when I'm looking back, that was
good
like a
exercise,
getaway.
okay?
That was a good exercise. That was like me getting off from my work for a couple of minutes.
I don't know what happened to our postage. We used to have a postage machine. Was it not working?
We had that as well, but sometimes,
Oh, yeah, the oversized
yeah,
stuff.
the oversized
Okay.
stuff, yeah. But I don't think there's anything that I did not like. Maybe that's something that I did not love doing, but I'm so glad that I got that opportunity to do that as well, because again, that's all part of the learning process and something you must
Well, now
do.
if someone has to go to the post office for you and they took 3 hours, you know that shouldn't take 3 hours.
Yeah,
There.
never misuse my time. I remember I used to do that during my break time because I wanted to get the most out of it and just come back to the firm. And anyway,
You have continued your journey, and you are at another personal injury firm. And I'm just curious to know if you feel that the skills you acquired at my firm you are using at your new firm. You've spoken a little bit about it, but is there something in particular that you have benefited from at this firm that you're using there?
absolutely. So I'm now working at Jewel Ready Mrs. George, and again, I'm grateful to you for introducing me to this law firm as well. There is a great mentorship program here. But yes, coming back to your question,
Well, let me just stop you there because I should explain. I knew that I was not going to be hiring any associates at that time when you were finishing your articles, and I never like leaving people in the wind, especially people who have done such a great job and really helped my firm. I want to ensure that they're taken care of as best as I can. And so I recall making some phone calls, and I told the particular firm you're at, wonderful people there, and I recall saying, you need to hire this one being you.
yeah, no, I'm very grateful to you. It's a great team of lawyers, a great mentorship program here as well. So the skills that I'm still carrying with myself. So like I said, when I was articling with you, I got these great opportunities to sit in the court hearings, to do drafting, and I had one-to-one mentorship available with you. I was sitting in your office. I remember you used to review my draft line by line, even spacing errors. I remember how much attention to detail I was trained to
You
get
mean
at your
my
law firm.
anal OCD situation where I'm
No,
like,
I
no, it's ON for Ontario here and Ontario written out here. Can you make it all uniform?
You know what, that was so important, and I still
Doesn't it look
practice
better?
those. Yes, even alignment, like what font you're using, you are not taught this in every other law firm. I'm telling you, that is so important, and I'm still carrying with myself to this day.
Good.
I still remember when it was my last day of articling, I asked you such a silly question now when I'm looking back 2 years later. Jasmine, when is the right time to settle a file? And you said you'll know it when you get it. And I still remember that. And I did not quite get it at that time. Now when I'm practicing a law, it's like you assess the file based on, what the prospects of success are, whether you've had the file for a year or 5 years or 10 years. It all comes down to your assessment of the file. It's when you settle the file. And I was able to settle a ton of files in my first 6 months when I started my career. And again, I'm not just saying that it was just because I was able to do it because somehow it was just I just learned all of a sudden. It was because of the training. Otherwise, how else would I be able to settle files in the first 6 months of my legal career? I had seen you settle files. I had seen your proposals. I had seen your work and the one-to-one mentorship. Anyway, I'll just go on and on. But coming back to your question, it was the training that I'm still... So there's not just one thing that I can point out, but there's like so much more that I've learned at your firm.
Yusra, I should have, I don't know, had 10 podcast interviews with you since you made me sound so fabulous. Thank you. But honestly,
No, I
it
mean
was a pleasure to have you, especially during those times when we weren't seeing a lot of people. It was great to have you in the office, to see you, to be with you, to spend time with you, to teach you. So thank you for your efforts at my firm, and I wish you all the best and all the success in the world.
No, of course. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to work with you. And I'm still carrying whatever you've taught me to this date. And thank you once again for just having me today.
Oh, thanks. My pleasure.